Hey guys, how's it going? Kevin Cleary here with a knife review for you. And yes, I've got another Civivi, and I'm not done with Civivis yet. I've got a couple of more coming in reviews and first impressions. And the fact is, guys, I'll just tell you, I'm a fan. I really feel like Civivi is doing the best job delivering well put together, affordable folding knives right now. There are other companies I like. I'm going to have some knives here that I enjoy from other companies, but I think Civivi is definitely one of the best, perhaps, tied with Real Steel. And Reich would be in there. Anyway, we've talked about this. I talked about my top 5 budget knife companies, and Civivi is absolutely on that list. So we've got another one, and I'm not going to apologize for that, even though it sure sounds like I'm apologizing. So this is the Civivi Shredder. Many of you know why I bought this knife. I was picking up a Civivi Dogma. I'd actually wanted the Shredder for a while, so it doesn't take much to convince us knife guys to buy another knife. And so I bought the Shredder along with the Dogma because I wanted to make sure that I had something that was more in my wheelhouse, and I was going to be happy and contented with my package when it arrived in the mail. So I've got the Shredder here. I've been able to use this, carry this, cut with this, play with this. I have added a little bit of KPL to the pivot, so it's a little smoother than perhaps it would be from factory. And look, guys, this is definitely one of my favorite Civivis. Before this, I probably would have said I liked the Backlash the most. And I still like the Backlash a lot and would easily, very highly recommend it. The only thing I like better about the Shredder is I like the styling just a little more, and I like the way it feels in hand just a little bit more. And that's, I mean, a very little bit more, right? So don't be like Kevin's crapping all over the Backlash. I like the Backlash a lot. This is a larger knife. What's interesting about this knife, though, is that I wouldn't really call it a heavy duty or hard use knife. And I don't know about you guys, but I often sort of associate those two things. I like larger knives. One of the reasons is that they tend to be a little more heavily built. And this is not lightly built or anything, but the blade stock is not super thick. This is not this big, beefy monstrosity. It's actually a pretty slim, lightweight, svelte cutting tool, and a highly effective one, I might add. So size on this, it is on the bigger side. So 8 and 9/16 overall. All right, 3 3/4 inches. In fact, a little over 3 3/4 inches on the blade, 4 and 13/16 on the handle. Okay, so that's the closed length like that. 4 inches of grip area. So this is a great knife for those of you out there with really large hands. And this fairly substantial knife only weighs 3.6 ounces. So not bad at all for a knife of this size. And I think you can probably take a look in there and see, yeah, you can, that this has been milled out to save a little bit of weight. So that's how they're achieving that lighter weight. So in terms of size, weight, and carry, this is a huge, huge win. It's not super thick. It doesn't take up a lot of space in the pocket. It's not heavy. It's very, very easy to carry around. Sorry about that, guys. I'm knocking some papers into the shot. So this is definitely a winner from a size, weight, and carry perspective. Blade here is going to be a D2 clip point hollow ground blade. You can see there's a hole in it. Got some nice jimping on the thumb ramp here. A big finger choil, which I do like quite a lot. And this is a fairly fine blade. This is not the knife you're going to be prying with. You're going to break that tip off really easily. It's also probably not a knife you want to be dropping on the ground, or again, you're likely to break it. But if what you want to do is cut stuff, this is a win, right? The hollow grind here and the super thin 16 thousandths behind the edge geometry means this slices like crazy. This is a cutting tool that's a joy to use. It just moves through material so easily. Now I know we don't always need that from our EDC. We're not always cutting up cardboard and cheese and foam and stuff like that. A lot of times it's just pieces of paper and opening packages and cutting some string. And for all those applications, edge geometry doesn't matter all that much. But for the times when it does, this thing is really, really good. I might add, and this is kind of moving us over to the action portion, that this hole in the blade, in addition to, kind of making a nice looking blade, works really well for either thumb opening or spidey flicking this knife, which again, very, very satisfying, very welcome. You know, I thought about this before. I've mentioned this before, but I would actually, I don't know, I think I'd like this blade about as much if they did a fuller here instead of the hole, but 6 of one, half a dozen the other. In terms of the action, this is a Civivi liner lock. I mean, I've reviewed dozens of them. You've probably owned a few of them. They're very consistent. All right, we all know Civivi does a good job with their detent on their liner locks and their ceramic bearings. This is no different. It's smooth, it's fast, it's enjoyable. It's not super drop shutty. It will drop shut, you can see. But because of the lightness of the blade, there's just not a lot of help you're getting from gravity there. But it's smooth, it's fast, it's really, really enjoyable to deploy. It's also easy to work with, right? The lock, the lock bar, I can easily get a hold of and move out of the way. The flipper tab is accessible. It's got some jimping, so I'm not slipping off it all the time. Pretty typical Civivi stuff. You know, I'm as I have been with, I think, almost every Civivi. I can't think of one that I've been like, oh, this is crappy. I really can't. So typical stuff. It's good. All right, finally, the handle. The handle is G10 over stainless steel liners, G10 backspacer, you can see right there, integrated lanyard post, deep carry pocket clip with flush screws, which is nice. You could, this clip could fit flush to the scale, but it's not absolutely necessary. It still works well as it is, and I'm sure they save a little bit of money by skipping that step. It's available in this red layered G10 or blue layered G10 or plain black. Now, I will say, you know, from an option standpoint, I'm pretty sure the only option you can get is if you want like the Damascus blade or whatever, it only comes with a plain black handle. So that's something to kind of keep in mind if you were thinking, you know, they have the fancy layered carbon fiber G10 and all that stuff. Not that I know of, at least not at this point. All right. While we're talking about this, of course, we need to bring up, the clip is movable. I don't know if I mentioned that. So now that we've gotten that out of the way, we do need to talk about ergonomics, and this is definitely an ergonomic win. It feels really good in hand. It's got a good traction plan, a little bit of jimping there on the thumb ramp. It does give me the option to choke up. So all of that I'm very impressed with. All right, if you want to hold this in various different grips, you can do that. I'm not sure what you're cutting with your knife upside down, but it is possible. So the handle is well put together. It's comfortable in hand. Like, what are you going to complain about here, guys? There's not too much. Unless you don't like the way it looks, you know, what are you going to do? Let's do some comparisons next. I've got a couple of comparisons for you. First, let's do some budget stuff. First of all, here's the Max Ace Goliath. It barely fits on the screen here, but it is a big knife that is fairly well put together and has a D2-ish blade. It's K110, which is sort of an alternative. It's Bowler's version of D2. Civivi Feldspar D2. Now, Feldspars are going to be coming out in that, what do you call it, RPM 9, the proprietary steel that CJRB sometimes uses. So that's kind of cool, a cool alternative option. Another knife that actually puts me kind of in mind of this knife is the Real Steel Akuma. Now, the Akuma is going to cost you a little bit more. It's K110 as well, but kind of a similar application, a little bit more robust, you know, some extra steel here in the blade. So if you're looking for something a little bit tougher, the action is similar. The detent is softer, but it is on dual row bearings, which is really, really nice. What else have we got? Oh, Civivi Dogma. This knife has actually, I've done a full comparison between these two, so I'm not going to belabor that point. What else? Let's throw in, for a Wii knife, here is the Wii Banter. Picked on this guy a little bit recently, but it's not a terrible knife. A Spyderco that I like and would be somewhat comparable in terms of size and functionality would be the Spyderco Amalgam. A more familiar Spyderco would, of course, be the Para 2. You can see similar size, similar roll, and I would feel like these are kind of in the same class. They're sort of EDC plus style knives. Just because I love this so much, I want to put it in every video. Here's my Gale Bradley with those great sharp dressed knives. Scales, really, really attractive. I thought I had a Mannix sitting here somewhere, but I don't seem to find it, so I'm not going to show you that. I do have a couple of CRKTs that I can bring in. Here is the Oh, I don't even know what this one's called. The Bonafide, CRKT Bonafide. Sadly, kind of crappy steel on this, but really interesting knife apart from that. Oh, and the CRKT CEO. If you wanted a long, slim knife that's slimmer than this guy, this might be a good option. Or this would also be a good option to carry as a secondary carry along with this knife. All right, so those are a few comparisons for you. I try not to belabor those. You can go and look up independent reviews of all those, but it's more to give you a size and weight and a few competitive options. What do I think of this knife overall? Well, if you haven't been watching, I definitely like this knife. I like the design. I like the size. I like the blade. As I've said many times, I would kind of like to see Civivi move over to, maybe they come up with their own proprietary steel. The 9CR13 blades that they've had have worked really, really well, and I think that's a great option. Highly recommend that 9CR18 MOV steel. Performs almost as good as VG10 or on par with VG10. So yeah, I like this. I like this knife. I like Civivi in general. They're consistent. I tend to like their designs more than some of the other budget companies. And I like you guys. So thanks a lot for watching. I hope this is helpful to you. If you're looking for another knife, and aren't we all, this might be a good option, especially if you like larger stuff. And if you like knives that cut really well, then this is for sure a win. All right. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Don't forget to check those channel sponsors. When you do that, it does help me out quite a bit. Thanks for watching. We'll talk to you soon.